Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Cruachan Keith. Today we're looking at the top 10 games on one of the greatest systems ever made, the PlayStation 2. At number 10, we've got CANIS, CANEM Edit, or if you're in the States, Bully. Bully is being called Grand Theft Auto at school, usually by people that haven't played it, although it is kind of like that. A few voices were raised before the game was even released about the nature of the game, but that was due to the name Bully, and that's why it had this shittier name in Europe. You play as a guy called Jimmy Hopkins in an open world environment similar to other Rockstar games. If you've played any Rockstar game from Warriors to Vice City, you'll feel totally at home with this. The school environment is well used, it's well realised, the story is standard enough. A school full of bullies, beat the bullies, bring peace to the school. I love playing through this and discovering all its hidden parts, its hidden secrets. It's been re-released on the Xbox 360 and Wii and available now as a download on PlayStation 4, so if you haven't checked it out, now's the time to do so. At number 9, old school PC role-playing game on PlayStation 2, it's Wizardry. I've always loved PC role-playing games and never gotten into Japanese role-playing games. I mean, I've tried, but I've failed. Some of my fondest gaming memories are playing Ishar on the Amiga, later Eye of the Beholder, Dungeon Keeper, Dungeon Master actually, Menzo Baranzan, and so many others on PC. So when I seen a Wizardry game was coming for PlayStation 2, I had to get it. Although with this one, it was an Atlas title, and they're absolutely notorious for small print runs. I found it really hard to track down a copy in the wild. Eventually I got my copy on eBay a couple of years after release. The game itself is very old school, and that's what I loved about it. Progression through levels is in that pseudo 3D style where you progress one square at a time, you sidestep left and right, all that kind of thing, just like those old role-playing games that I mentioned before. It's a standard dungeon crawler that has no real surprises. The story's pretty standard as well, but the fact that this was on PlayStation 2 was amazing. I loved the game and I completed it in about 30 hours and I've played through it twice since then. Coming in at number 8, the Chaotic Black. This is the only first-person shooter in my top 10, and as a huge first-person shooter fan, I would say it's my favourite genre. That just goes to show how amazing games were on the PlayStation 2 that only one of these made it onto my top 10. This game was excellent and it still stands up today. When I was capturing this footage, I ended up playing through almost half the game again and loved every second of it. The game's also very cinematic. It takes place in Chechnya and Russia. You're after an arms dealer, you have guns, what more do you need? The action is absolutely relentless. There always seems to be something blowing up somewhere. There's tons of enemies to kill. You can shoot your grenades in mid-air to make them blow up faster. Like, there's so much fun doing that. If you like first-person shooters, this game should not be overlooked, even today. I really think it's aged very well and you should check it out. Number 7, one of the funniest games on the PlayStation 2, Destroy All Humans. This is a really funny game. It's set in a 1950s version of Cold War era America and it captures the period perfectly with running jokes about communism and celebrities of the time, Marilyn Monroe and that type of thing. You play in an open world setting as Crypto, either on foot or at the controls of his flying saucer. You wreak havoc on the local population as you try to harvest their DNA for the survival of your species. The game doesn't break any new ground with the gameplay, but what it does really, really well. You can tell the guys that made this game are fans of 50s science fiction and that type of thing. Graphically, the game looks great, although pop-up can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Despite all of that, it's still one of my favourite gaming experiences on the PlayStation 2. If you haven't checked it out, you got it. Coming in at number 6, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. It's safe to say most people have played a Grand Theft Auto game, and for me this was the absolute best one on PlayStation 2, and if not one of the best overall. The game is set in an 80s style city called Vice City, and it's loosely based on Miami and very similar themes to the TV show Miami Vice, except a hell of a lot more ridiculous in this game. The storyline's similar enough to Grand Theft Auto 3 with the mob and drugs, but it's the freedom to do what you want that makes this game so special. There's many more vehicles to steal in this than in Grand Theft Auto 3, and this was the one that introduced bikes as well. I love driving around putting on V-Rock and, you know, listening to Iron Maiden, Slayer, this kind of stuff as you're mounting footpaths and killing pedestrians, all that kind of stuff. Such good fun, although never so much good fun to do that in real life. Such a shame. At number 5, OKAMI. This game is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. It's like playing a work of art. The whole look of the game is like a Japanese watercolor painting, and it works so well. A lot of people compare the gameplay to Zelda, and you know, I totally have to agree. Action, platform, puzzle solving, it's all part of OKAMI. The guy that made the game, the director, Hideki Kamiya, he said himself that he is a Zelda fan and was influenced by Zelda games while he was working on this. So the story goes as, you play as Okami Amaterasu, goddess of the sun, who saved the world from Orochi, an 8-headed demon, and has been resurrected to once again take the creature down. In order to do this, you must team up with a bug, traverse the world to blossom all of the dark and tainted areas. Using her skull and calligraphy, Okami will headbutt and cut her way to save the world once more from evil. The story is actually brilliant and incorporates loads of Japanese Shinto lore, myths and legends that will probably go over your head either way, but it is really amazing to play through. One really interesting part of the gameplay is called the Celestial Brush. You pause the game and bring up a canvas that you use to paint on the screen. Unpause the game and whatever you painted on the screen will be used, it'll be there in the game incorporated. It's really cool feature. You could, you know, swipe the screen, cut houses in half, lots of fun. If you haven't checked out OKAMI, it's worth doing so now. My number 4 is the amazing Ico, or Eco, not sure how you pronounce it. This game, like OKAMI, is often considered a work of art. Anyone who's played it will know exactly what I mean. It was originally planned for PlayStation 1, development was delayed, which ultimately saw it come out on PlayStation 2, and it's all the better for it, as far as I know, it was one of the first PlayStation 2 games to use bloom lighting effects. The graphics are beautiful in the game. The designer set out to make a minimalist type of game in both story and design, and they totally achieved that spectacularly while still making a game that is a joy to play. You play as Ico, a young boy born with horns that gets locked in a castle which you have to escape from. You eventually meet up with a girl called Yorda, and together you try to escape. That's it. Gameplay is very platformy with occasional combat sections when you need to fight off these shadowy creatures that keep trying to capture Yorda. If you've never played this game, do yourself a favour, pick it up today. Number 3, Resident Evil 4. This game went through a lot of development hell. It started out as a PlayStation 2 exclusive, then development stopped, then development started again, this time as a GameCube exclusive, and eventually it's seen the light of day on a few different systems. The PlayStation 2 is where I played the game first and have a lot of fond memories of it. I did start playing again on the Wii with the motion controls, and while it was enjoyable, it couldn't beat the experience that I had on the PS2. The game itself is set in Spain. You play as Leon Kennedy, sent out on a mission to rescue the president's daughter who's been kidnapped by some strange cult. The action takes place in a third-person, over-the-shoulder type view, and it's quite effective, and the gunplay is intuitive and fairly accurate. If you hit an enemy's leg, for example, they'll stumble, and you can hit weapons out with their hands. All good, fun, healthy stuff. The chainsaw is especially fun and gruesome to use. There was actually a special edition released of the game that came with a chainsaw-shaped controller. Looked amazing. There's a constant feeling of dread and foreboding as you get deeper into the game, and in all honesty, it's my favourite Resident Evil game on any system. Check it out if you haven't. Number 2, keeping the survival horror team going, we've got Silent Hill 2. The original Silent Hill was an incredible game and was creepy as fuck. The fog in the game was almost like a character in itself. Of course, you need to forget that the reason the developers put so much fog in the game was due to the technical limitations of the original PlayStation. Well, they didn't have those problems with the PlayStation 2, and the fog is thankfully still there to creep you out. The story is not directly related to the first game, except for the fact that events take place in Silent Hill. You play as James Sunderland, who comes to the town after receiving a letter from his dead wife. The plot is pretty standard horror fare, but it's done really well, and you do want to keep going to find out what happened. The gameplay is pretty standard, with more of a focus on puzzle solving than combat, but the combat's pretty enjoyable when it does happen. The graphics are amazing, the monsters look amazing, and overall this was one of my best PlayStation 2 experiences. And my number one top 10 PlayStation 2 games ever, Shadow of the Colossus. What a game. One of the best titles on any system, and one that pushed the PlayStation 2 to its technical limits. It's the spiritual successor to Ico, and there's a lot of similarities, if not in the narrative, certainly in the feel of the game. It was created by the same team, more or less, that worked on Ico and went under the name Nyko when in development. You play as a guy called Wander, and the goal of the game is to take down 16 huge beasts known as the Colossi. You travel the land on horseback, using your sword to locate these beasts. When you discover a Colossus, you need to find its weakness to defeat it. That's pretty much all there is to the game, but it's one of those that need to be seen to be believed. I mean, if you're like me when you're playing through it, you'll question why the hell you're killing these magnificent creatures, and they truly are magnificent to behold. The animation is superb, and the graphics are incredible for the PlayStation 2. There was a HD re-release of this and Ico combined on PlayStation 3, so if you missed this when it came out originally for PS2, definitely you should check it out on PS3. So Shadow of the Colossus, my number one in my top 10 PlayStation 2 games. So that's my PlayStation 2 top 10, one of the greatest systems ever made. I've got 3 honourable mentions. Now these are not the average, the usual games that you would see in an honourable mention, but these are games that I have played immensely. Number 1, Buzz. I've had so much fun with this game and the different iterations that came out on PlayStation 2. I played with friends, family had some great nights with it. I've never seen it mentioned in top 10s. I don't know why, because so many people have enjoyed this game. FIFA. Who doesn't love FIFA? I mean, so many people play this game. It's one of the top selling games in the world. Never mentioned in top 10s. Don't know why. I love it. And SingStar. Again, another party game just like Buzz. Don't see it mentioned that often, but it's a very, very popular game. I have a great fun with this at parties, friends over, a few drinks. Always good fun. Okay, that's my top 10. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and see you next week.